I've hit the button. Right, we're up. Right, so
It's nice to all be back together.
yes, it is. It's
Not
nice.
that we've been
Where
anywhere.
have we
but
been?
just not been doing this, but we're back on it.
Well, we're on it. We're in it.
We're in it.
We're never off it. We're still on it.
Do we need the music?
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to lie. I can't remember how to do it, so this will be edited out. Welcome to the Good Podcast. Good. We're a brand consultancy. We're in the United Kingdom and we're in a room and we are talking and we are going to be talking about brand. And I am today joined by Mr. Chris Lumsden.
Hello.
And Ms. Julie Murdoch.
Hello.
And my name, Stuart Steele. A name that was asked if that name has been workshopped. And I said that name has not been workshopped.
Well,
It's my
but your
actual
full
name.
real name has been what? Which is?
Archibald Campbell Stuart Steele.
What a name. Strong name.
And strong name.
Don't
strong
Google
name.
it. That guy's been in all sorts of trouble.
Strong name for a strong
Don't
man.
Google that, but put your safe search on before you start Googling that nonsense.
Member of the British royal family.
Well, somewhat down the line, but yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
that's why they didn't do a who do you think you are, because who do you think you are? I'm everybody. That's who I think I am. Anyway,
Do you think?
who do you think? Anyway,
What are we talking
we're
about today,
here.
Stuart?
Right,
You've
well,
written an article. Come on, talk about
it. From time to time, we will sit and work out what are the inquiries that are coming in and just kind of going what and compare them from year to year, because it's just interesting, because trends.
What questions are we being asked?
Yeah, it's kind of where are we, and I think that the thing that you start to realise quite quickly when clients call up or new business comes in is they never come with a brand problem. It's always another problem. Which brand is the answer, but it never starts off with the question. Generally,
It's a business challenge.
yeah, it's a business challenge.
It never starts off with it. It doesn't often.
Yeah, it's a generalisation of Julie's
Just
back.
in the spirit of accuracy.
Oh, good.
All
good.
right, I'll write that down. Just write that accuracy. We'll see how we end up in the next half hour. So there's, I would say the generally is more kind of business problems than anything else. And there was 5 questions that were quite interesting coming up, and I've written an article about it. I think to kick off with that though, what's interesting about what has changed before we get into the first question is that we're not seeing it. ESG is just falling off a.
Yeah.
We were talking about that the other week, weren't we?
We're not
Sustainability.
we're not, all that kind of what now? It's like going, and I think there's been a bit of. I think
Why do you think that?
I think cost of living. I think when you look at a lot of the research we're looking at that clients do, maybe some, before the sustainability was an interesting point of view, and people wanted to do it, and then cost of living came in, and it's basically, I want that pound in my pocket, and I don't want to spend that.
That's all well and good, but not if it's going to cost me more money.
It's we do a lot some like energy demand stuff, and I think it's interesting. People are only interested in saving energy. Well, the only time they think about electricity in the grid is when their beers are warm and their showers are cold. When normally that's exactly what energy flips it around. It's usually about, so I think it's there. So just generally, I think that's just dropped off, and I think it's kind of interesting how that's gone. And obviously, we're going to go through the 5 questions, but the thing that's kind of rising is the 2 words that give me the bulk is the AI.
OI with the AI.
OI with the AI. And it's basically AIO. And it's basically, how do we integrate this and how do we do this? So I think there's a lot that's on the rise. But generally,
it's the next cab off the rank, isn't it?
A wee bit.
In terms of
it's like how can we get rid of? I mean, how can we be more efficient?
Yeah. So what are the 5 questions that you find that we're being asked?
Well,
what's the first question?
Well, let's just do focus in the because we're going
to do a series. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do the 5. But the first one, as a generalisation, is the email pops in or the phone call happens. Like our look and feel seems outdated compared to where our business is heading. How do we update it without confusing our current customers? And that's basically the fear that when you're looking at the logo and you know where the business is going and you look at the look and feel, and that's the key point, you kind of go, oh, actually, I don't think that's reflective of the market. It's sometimes also the fact that maybe somebody else in the space has decided to do a little bit of a tinkly rebrand.
Well, you're right. I think it is the most common request, but it can also be muddled up, and I just don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
And we need to try and unwrap all of that, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, or not necessarily. And just to add to Stuart's point of whether somebody else looks a bit newer and sexier now, Or quite often what we see with some of our big B2B tech clients is that there's just newer, smaller, more nimble players that are entering the market that look more, well, they just
Younger.
look a bit
Fresher.
more, fresh and what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more sophisticated.
So are we talking about this? Is this just all about design then?
I think from a client perspective, yeah. I think because it's easy to articulate that looks better than that. And I think, there's a competition. If that looks better, are people going to that? And we've seen that.
To be fair to clients, though, and thinking about a couple in particular, where it's maybe manifests itself in how they look, but there is a deeper kind of concern behind that, in that if this is how we are facing out and this is how we look in the market, that doesn't represent what we offer as a business, the value of our technology, how smart our technology. I don't mean smart as in smart technology, but how innovative our technology is. So it's not necessarily I'm just bored of how we look. It's how we look now doesn't represent what we stand for and what we are as a business.
I would say that's correct. I would say, though, that generally it starts off with we're a wee bit bored, and then when you push into it, you get that. I think the instinct has come from on high, going, look at these guys. These guys are cool. And then I think once you dig into it,
we want to be that.
But when you dig into it, it's exactly that, because the superficiality around just doing a design is that you're going to be there in 18 months because all you're doing is chasing a trend, as opposed to embedding it into something deep. So yeah, I think I'm thinking one, it starts with an S and ends with Ratasis. Is kind of, I think there was a feel that it was a bit outdated and the logo felt a bit old, but as you kind of went into, and maybe they did do it internally and did a bit of digging to think actually it's, well, why? And it doesn't represent.
Yeah, because the big question is to ask, what is the risk of not doing it? And I think the key part of your question, or the question as it stands, is that it doesn't feel like it's complements where the business is heading. And that's the key aspect, isn't it? To understand why,
Yeah, it's digging into what that means and where you head. And I think the other thing around that is the second part of that sentence, which is how do we update it without confusion? Because a rebrand's expensive, and even just Julie and I have been on projects that we think there's maybe a rebrand in the offing, and then they've just moved to a new building, and then they've got a 20-foot sign with the logo on the door and go, well, we're not going for a rebrand then. You kind of look at that and go.
But it's a valid, I think, there's a number of clients we've worked with where, it has been a complete rebrand, but the implications of that in terms of budget and for rollout are significant. Yeah. So as it's clients are smart enough, they know that, but we need to be kind of, I think our creative team are very pragmatic in that way, and that it's starting with what's the least amount we need to change to still
babies in bathwater is the expression we use, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's always enough. There's always something in there. If that business has been around a while, there's always something in it, and in terms of its assets, that kind of makes it what it is. And it would be silly to change it.
Yeah, it's protected, because the urge is the people that look at the logo the most are the people that are the most bored of it, and that's usually the clients. So it's kind of taken away. Go, you've got good stuff here. You've got distinctive assets that should be maintained, curated, yeah, and looked after, to kind of go, look, if you throw that out, that has some equity. People look at that, and so how do we maintain that, or how do we modernise that?
Because I think that the point you mentioned the client, but I mean a number of clients have where we change that phrase. We change everything but change nothing.
I think
because the logo doesn't change.
Well, I think that's the thing. We're talking about logos here, but essentially there's a huge amount that you can change about a look and feel and sort of graphic articulation of a brand without touching the actual visual the core of the visual identity, the logo. There's a whole other kind of, and we talk, the guys talk about that a lot in terms of the toolkit or the kit of parts, that how all these things, so you could work essentially with broadly the same by adding an accent color and switching up the typography and elevating the standard of comms. Then all of a sudden you've got something that feels different, categorically different, but it still looks the same. The
biggest thing is, we always say language as well. To inject some emotion and humanity into it, just flips it on its head.
And with starting with Essence and Ratasis example again, I mean, that was the biggest, I would say that was what had the biggest impact, because a massive part of that brief was about humanizing the value of their technology and what it delivered for clients, and adding that kind of layer of brand narrative without touching anything graphically already made a massive impact. But then there was a whole, there's a whole piece of work around where you invest and what you invest in and which assets you invest in to give you most bang for your buck, and making sure, that help elevate the standard of all of those comms. And then, as we've talked about a million times before, it becomes about consistent application and discipline and all those things.
And I think when clients were, and when I say clients, I think it's important to kind of go that, remember that our clients have clients, and I think it's probably our clients that are kind of going to be a bit fed up with this rather than necessarily somebody in a marketing function. But I think what was interesting about that case in particular was that they were looking at the competition and feeling it was fresh and new and exciting, but it was the language rather than just the visuals. It was the way they were talking about themselves was as new as maybe a sexy product shot. And I think that was, but it's interesting that it just comes down to being it's the feel of the look, it's the look.
Well, things are always kind of boiled down to really simple levers, aren't they? Yeah. It tends to, everything kind of gets boiled down and crystallizes into, we've got to change the logo,
Yeah. And it's that. So, I mean, and I think the lovely thing is when it works, I think the biggest compliment we get with our work is when it goes out live. And we've had it a couple of times. We've had it just with and it's when it goes to a trade show.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's the trade show moment.
It all comes together.
Yeah, and we've had it a couple of times now where suddenly they kind of go, well, we've had 2 this year, I think, and basically both of them are kind of going, something's different. Yeah. And this is really cool, but we can't quite put our finger on it. And I think that's,
you still recognise it as you, but it feels very different, which is ideally what you want.
Which is why we're leading into our new positioning as trade show specialists.
Well, no, but it is where it kind of manifests itself. And I think that the challenge with the website is the website.
You're right. It's real world, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think what's important is that from the question, like, how do we not confuse our customers? Make the customers feel that there is a trajectory happening. Then I think that's a forward motion.
Well, I would say that if you've got, if people don't recognise, if customers aren't recognising any change, then you would question the value of spending any money in the first place. Yeah. So, it's that balance between a noticeable shift on and what that means and what it does for the business, but also still being recognisable for all the good stuff and customers have known you for previously, which hasn't changed.
So that was really that kind of first little cheeky thing. I'm just gonna, it's
so what we're saying is that it's a very common request and it's asked a million different ways. But the key thing is that we're not contrary to popular belief about people that do our sort of work, is we're not chomping at the bit to change everything. It's our job to be responsible and
I think isolate the bits. Responsible. I think when you're looking at doing this, you've got to look at it responsibly and kind of, we've talked about the cost implications, which very quickly mount up when some clients are willing to bear that cost. We had a client who has just redone every office in their global offices to kind of rematch the branding. That's fine. That's their time. Our responsible way of doing that is that if it's rolling out on over 6 months, that the people at the end of that transformation don't feel totally different from the beginning, from the people who are at the beginning, and it feels like it's come from something authentic, in one of a better word, or that is based on
it's not change for the sake of change. And I think it's, even if there's the whole thing around distinctive assets that we talk about a lot that you mentioned earlier, and it's not even where it's, even when they're not necessarily distinctive, there are still assets that a brand has created and invested in over time that have some level of value. So it's part of that creative process for us and for our team is to understand what does have value, what should stay, what should remain, and what can you evolve, what can we build on, and what needs created net new to give a little bit of whatever refresher to whatever it is, whatever they ask in the brief is really. But I think it's I think the key thing I think in this whole thing for us is that you can change a lot about a brand by changing a few key elements that kind of punches quite a lot of what's the analogy I'm looking for?
Carries quite a lot of weight.
Punches a lot of buttons. Punches a lot of things.
I've got a wee bit of a cold today.
You're all right, really don't you worry. Right, we're done. That's cracking. Listen, there's 4 more of these questions. I'm going to put a link in. If you want to spoil it for yourself, I'll put a link in.
Read the article.
Have a look at the article and go, but then what we'll do is we'll deep dive.
The next one's a cracker.
Maybe even deeper than this. What are we getting into next time?
That's a very good question. Teaser. Well, let's talk about one of my favourite subjects, product ranges. I mean, it's just all going good. All good. Product ranges. That's
and is it because sometimes they can become confusing over time?
I tell you what, there's nothing I like better than a confusing product line, because it's like, that gets me up in the morning. Gets the juices flowing. It gets my juices flowing to the point where I'm going to go back home. So I'm so excited. All right, you all right there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
He's right excited.
See you at the same time next week.
Oh, I can't wait. Right, watch the roads.
Bye.
Bye.